So, yes, let us now examine Judges 14 and verse 2. Remember, we're talking about Samson and his inclination to being yoked, but his intentions and directions were in a disordered state. If we turn our attention to Judges 14 and verse 2, it reveals to us, as the Word of God presents to us, and he, Samson, came up and told his father and his mother and said, I have seen a woman in Timnath of the daughters of the Philistine. Now, therefore, go get her for me to wife. Isn't this audacious of Samson? Samson, being an Israelite, uh, claiming the vow of the Nazarite, and yet he wanted a Philistine, which was the enemy of the people of the Israelite. Can you just imagine that? What would be going through your mind if your child or your children come to you and say, hey, I would like to desire for myself to take a wife of people who don't believe what I believe, who don't serve the God that I serve, who serve other God, who are likely to drive me to a reprobate state. How would you feel as a parent? So Samson, in his juvenile state, visited Timnath and he fell in love. That is a big accident that took place. Falling in love. No one in their right mind should ever desire to fall in love, especially with a Philistine, especially with a person who does not have the same value, especially with a person who shares nothing in common with you. This here, falling in love, would be guiding us to the path of infatuation. Have you ever heard love at first sight? Remember, seeing with the eyes and loving with the heart are two different things. So now he returns home. He told his parents that he has seen this woman and he commanded them to get her for him to wife. Can you imagine your child coming and saying, Mommy, Daddy, I want you to get X, Y, and Z for me right now? How would you feel? What manner of respect would that convey to you? How would that be a representation and a reflection of your stewardship to that child? If you want a quality thing, I must say this to you respectfully. You have to go to a quality place to receive it. Where are all the good men supposed to be? Are they supposed to be in the penitentiary? Are they supposed to be in the bars? Are they supposed to be in the exotic clubs? Are they supposed to be in the Playboy mansion? Where are the good men supposed to be? So let me ask you a question. If you want a good man, why is it that you are going on these dating apps? We have to talk about the dating apps as well. If you want a good man, why are you going to a bar? Where where did you get this concept that a good man will be in a bar drinking away his sorrows? If you want a good man, you have to go to places where the quality of the man that you desire would be there in the majority and not be the exception. We are not saying that you cannot find a good man in a bar. A good man can be in a bar, but that is not the commonality of people in the bar. People in the bar are usually trying to run away from the reality. They are trying to drown their sorrows. They're trying to come to terms or come to grips with the abuse they have faced, with the turmoils that they don't want to be rekindled. So let us position our minds and say, if you want a quality thing, let us go to the quality places. So if you want a man of God, I don't expect you to be going to places where there is no man of God. I don't expect you to be going to a concert of a diva. I expect you to be going to the house of God to find the man of God. So if you want a quality person, a person with certain characteristics and certain attributes, you have to go to the place where these persons are normally situated. If you want someone who is into health and fitness, then you have to find yourself exercising. Because if you're not exercising in those areas, then how are you going to locate and identify that which you're looking for? So being yoked is very important. And being unequally yoked is very dangerous. So you have to decide what it is that you desire. You cannot want a good man or a man of God and go to the bar, go to the club, go and pick them up on the corner. The man of God must be sober minded. What are you thinking? Are you thinking that this is a joke? This is a game? No one can give you the game to relationship, because relationships are not games. And when people play them like games, that is when we have people being hurt, people being victimized, people being desecrated, people losing their morality, people being compromised, people being in a state in which they are unable to move over because of the trauma and the disturbance which they have experienced. Why would you see something good and then try to take it down out of place just to satisfy your own appetite? Why would you see something in grace and then you intentionally pull it down to let it fall from grace just to serve your evil intention? That there is not something that God desires. So let us go back to the story. His parents were astonished and asked him if there was not a woman among his people that was acceptable. So Samson looks and he's saying that he left the virgin in his land. He left the pure people. He left the people who had his principles, people who had his morality, and says, no, 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 no. I don't want people of my kind. I want what the enemy is eating. I want to devour the enemy's woman. So he went down to a place he had no business. His parents tried to reason with him, but they could not get through to him. The stubborn Sample insisted that the woman he saw and fell in love with was the right one for him. Can you imagine someone digging their own grave and not even realizing it? The man left the safety of the camp of God, went over into the enemy's camp to take a wife when there were virgins, women of God in his camp. There were women who were pure, sharing the same ideologies, the biblical belief system, the religious structure, and had the same intention and purpose for the will of God. But he was more comfortable to find a harlot, a woman in the world, to intermarry. And this is the position that many people find themselves in. So too, our women leave the church of God to go outside of God to find a man who they have no business in. That same way that Samson's story may seem like it is only relegated to the men, but no, it's relegated to the women, because women are taking on positions and roles and responsibilities which they have no business taking on. They are seeking after men when they should be prepared to receive the man who seeks after her. Because if we are saying that we are people of God, we should be doing things in accordance with the natural biblical design. So, who is not of God? and trying to bring them to God, that there is a challenge, that there is a bridge that has to be crossed. So, as women, you cannot be thinking that you're going to go step outside of God's church, God's glory, God's safety, go outside, take someone who is of the enemy's camp, bring them to God, and then expect there to be compatibility. And that word we're going to have to discuss and dissect in a future sitting. Or expect there to be equal yoking when the conversion process takes place, because sometimes the conversion only occurs because of your input and the conversion is not truth. We know too well the history and the statistic that these relationships which are outside of the natural design, outside of the will of God, outside of the principle of equity in terms of ideology, tend to fail 90% of the time. And in modern times, even more. So, because the church people have been leaving God's work, God's glory, God's design, and have been moving in alignment with the world, they have been reaping the rewards of people of the world. So, we are seeing where the divorce rate inside people who consider or classify themselves as Christian now being on par with people of the world. So, if people of God and people of the world are having the same outcomes, it means that there is no distinction, and that there is a problem, that there is a challenge, and that occurs when there is unequal yoking. That is risk that you don't have to take on. So I am imploring you, do not be like Samson. Do not desire things which you have no business desiring. Now, back to Samson. We see how his almost marriage unraveled into a fiasco. The groom Samson gave a riddle. The Philistine threatened damage to the bride's family to get the answer from Samson. Upon discovering the treachery, he stormed away to his home, or the home of his parents, not getting to complete the delight of the marriage which he missed. He was given another chance. So this here we're seeing strike one Samson,